Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast. I'm your host, Maria Gonçalves, and today we have a special guest. We have Kara Melendy. Did I say that correctly?
You did. Perfect.
Perfect. So I'm going to let you guys know a little bit about her. So Kara has supported thousands of lightworkers, healers, and visionary women in creating spiritual wealth and financial success. She is a master at helping you tap into cosmic intelligence and connecting with your unique blueprint for success so you align with your highest path for this earthly journey. Oh, I love that. She is an astrologer, a certified Akashic Records practitioner, and also holds a master's degree in psychology, in addition to being trained in many different energy practices. Her first business was a private practice as a psychotherapist, which gradually evolved into the work she is doing today. Wisdom from each of these modalities is incorporated into her work. Kara has gone from struggling entrepreneur who was overwhelmed with debt to reaching the seven-figure mark in her business. Congratulations.
Ooh.
She is on a mission to help as many other lightworkers as possible to do the same. She lives near the ocean with her tuxedo cat and hubby and considers herself a mermaid at heart. I will join you. I want to be a mermaid. I want to live by the ocean.
The ocean life is just so rejuvenating. It's so great to be here, Maria. And I know we were just saying, like, the Lion's Gate, what a powerful time for us to have this conversation.
Oh, I agree. Can you tell our listeners what that is? Because today I was on social media and there are so many posts and I feel like I get a little overwhelmed because I'm like, do I know? I know a little bit, but I don't know a lot. So for those that have no clue why today is such a powerful day, can you let us know?
Absolutely. So there's a very powerful cosmic alignment that happens every year around the Lion's Gate, and it peaks on August 8th. So we're connecting at the peak of this energy. And it happens when the sun is in Leo, and that aligns with the star Sirius as well as the Orion's belt. So the energy of the sun in Leo is very much about heart-centered leadership. Like Leo is very associated with the king energy or queen energy and like that royalty and abundance in many ways. And then the star Sirius is known as our spiritual sun. So when they form that alignment, it can feel like this gateway opens where we're in deeper communication with our spirit team. So that can be our angels, our loved ones, our ancestors. It can also be a time where we see manifestations being accelerated, like things are just kind of manifesting or happening instantly. For some people, it can be new psychic gifts awakening. So when we work with this energy consciously, it can be a huge time for spiritual growth. And we all experience it, of course, like anything slightly differently. And each year around the Lion's Gate, there's different astrology surrounding it. So it always happens when the sun is in Leo, but the other cosmic alignments are going to differ each year. This
Yeah.
year overall is just like groundbreaking when it comes to astrology. And we don't even have to be into astrology to know and feel like this is rapid ascension on the planet that's happening right now, huge changes. So just the energy surrounding this Lion's Gate is signifying big upgrades that are happening on the planet and new paradigm leadership, like the new paradigm, the light worker, I feel is
Yeah.
really stepping up. We can go into more of all the astrology, but it's just a very potent time. And then on the 9th, we also have the full moon in Aquarius. So there's just a lot happening at once
Wow.
astrologically right now to really enhance the power of this Lion's Gate.
So if people want to work with this energy, because you said manifesting, and I know that's like a big word, manifesting, and I love that word. How does one manifest? Like, how do you use the energy?
Yeah, and often I do use the word manifest. I'm sure I said that. I even see it more as like conscious creation because I do feel we are always manifesting. We're always
Yeah.
creating. We're always putting energy out into the universe through the thoughts that we have, even the actions we take. It can be very practical as well. So it's all about the intentionality. So I actually think
Mhm.
this is a really good day to even if it's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just sitting in silence, breathing into your heart space and really feeling into what's alive for you right now. Because we
Yeah.
may notice a lot of emotions emerging too that want to be acknowledged or cleared. And we can then just feel into our heart and even ask, what are the messages coming through for me right now? Where am I being guided? Because we are also at a time where so many people are feeling this strong calling to make some big changes in their life. I've seen an
Yeah.
influx of clients lately facing some really big changes, whether that's in their relationships or in their business. But there's this really strong call to, am I aligned with my highest path for what my soul wants to do on the planet? And
Yeah.
anything that's misaligned, I feel like we're becoming very aware of that right now. So we can use that portal. It doesn't mean like we need to make any huge decisions, but even
Yeah.
just sitting in the energy of like, okay, what's alive for me? What is the message here? And even receiving that love and support, like I find this energy, I can feel my guides so closely, and not that they're not always there. We can always feel that. But it just is something about the energy that feels very like enhanced or amplified.
Yeah.
So even just sitting in that space of love and knowing we are divinely guided on our path. There's so much love around us, even when we're feeling alone. Our angels and our spirit guides are here. So even just taking the time and that energy to feel that, that's transformational in and of itself.
Oh, that is amazing. I am wondering. Okay, so I know on your website you have Codes of the Throne, the Lionsgate portal activation. So do people sign up for that?
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
that's available. The first few audios just dropped today at the peak of the Lion's Gate, but we're really in this portal until the 11th. So it's really opens around July 26th to the 11th, peaking on the 8th. And the energy of the 8 is also very significant. So from the lens of numerology, it's about abundance and material success, but it's also about the infinity symbol, like being in that
Yeah.
flow of wow, I am provided for, I am receiving. And there's symbolism as well with the astrology of it, of the 8 ruling over the 8th house of death, rebirth, and transformation, as well as wealth. So there's all that energy. But these audios that I created are actually timeless. So they're inspired by the Lionsgate energy. But
Yeah.
there's something you can tune into any time to get that frequency upgrade. And they really focus around tapping into the energy of prosperity and wealth, which is a topic I love to help, especially healers and light workers with, like really living from that space of abundance and true wealth. They also focus on leadership because those are
Yeah.
huge coming in with this Lion's Gate, like the new paradigm leader, how we are called to lead. It's just really powerful. So inspired by this energy, but anytime we're wanting that update, and it does involve Akashic record journeys as well. So really going records and connecting with your unique blueprint and your unique soul journey.
Oh, that's awesome. You froze a little bit, but we still
Oh no.
heard you. So,
Okay, good.
so it's all good. It's all good.
Oh, the Mercury retrograde. We're also still in a Mercury retrograde. So I love when I can get on that. I just kind of joke, but we are.
So, Kara, because you are so passionate about astrology, and I could see that in the Lion's Gate. What inspired you to learn astrology?
I've always loved it. So I was actually the kid on the schoolyard that would be reading other people's horoscopes. So I feel like it's one of those things where I came in just with a love of astrology from a pretty young age. And then, of course, it went deeper later on in my journey. So I always had like a love and interest in it, but it kind of took a back seat for years. So I went through school, did my master's in psychology for a while, got very much into the brain and like neuroscience, which is still
Yeah.
fascinating. I wouldn't say I completely lost like the energetic or spiritual path, but the focus shifted temporarily. I
Yeah.
feel some things in life like we can't get away from. So once I had graduated with my master's, astrology was really calling to me again. And this time I started to dive deeper. And the first thing I started studying, so prior to that, I was just working with astrology in a very fun way. So I knew our sun sign, which is our zodiac sign, very basic when you think about how complex astrology can be. This time I
Yeah.
started to study more about my moon sign, and that alone opened so much in my world because the moon sign, the sign the moon was in at the time of our birth, is just as important as our sun sign, but it's not talked
Mm.
about as much. I feel like that's kind of changing now, but we still are
Yeah.
in the society or culture, especially the westernized, that's very focused on sun sign and the sun sign zodiacs, but the moon is our inner world. It's our emotional response. So the moon sign and understanding that brought in so much clarity that I wasn't getting from the sun sign. I'm like, okay, I got to know more. So from there, I started studying rising signs, understanding the different planets. And I mean, it just spirals in the best way from there, where you can go into understanding transits and the energy of each planet, your soul intention, your soul path. And at first, I was just working with this for myself. And
Yeah.
then I started kind of bringing it into my sessions. So at that time, I was still doing counseling work. So I wasn't, directly bringing it in because there are a lot of regulations in the
Yes. Makes
counseling
sense.
space. Of course, yeah. But what I would do, because people would have like, they'd give their birth info as they were coming in. I would pull up their chart just for my own understanding. So I knew how to better connect with them. And it was so helpful because the chart shows how someone may initially present and then who they really are beyond that initial presentation, like their personality. It shows what they need to feel comfortable, their style of communicating. It's like, this is
Yeah.
so cool, just knowing this information. And then, some of the clients were very into it and they're like, I want to learn more. And can you do my chart? Can I pay you just to do that? So it was just something I feel like is part of my soul path, something I'm so passionate about. I feel like I've probably done astrology for many, many lifetimes. And over time, it just grew more and more to become a part of my business. So it kind of went from just my personal love into, no, this is going to be a core piece of my work.
Yeah. I find astrology fascinating. I like for my birthday, I'm a cusp. So I get so confused. I went to an astrology reader and she's like, "So what sign do you think you are, Maria?" I'm like, "Well, I'm a Scorpio." And she's like, "Well, I have some bad news for you." And I was like, "What?" She's like, "You're a Libra." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So I find that part a little bit confusing because it goes by the time you were born, right? So I was born at 11 in the morning. She's like, "Oh, it doesn't go into Scorpio till 11:20." I was like, "What?" So then what do people do that are cusps? Like,
Well, yeah, I love that you brought that up, Maria. And I've had those experiences with other people, like or clients or even friends are like, oh my goodness, all my life I thought I was this sign because
yes.
really it can only be in one sign or the other. So we say on the cusp, but exactly what the astrologer said, like really the sun was in Leo at the time of your birth and it didn't make the transition into Scorpio until a later time because that can slightly change year to year. So that's why knowing like our place of birth, our time of birth, like all of
Yes.
that is significant for determining like if we're on the cusp, but even other aspects of the chart, knowing that birth time will determine our rising sign, the exact degree of like the moon and the house placement. So
Yeah.
but it's interesting. So the sun is still in one sign or the other. So it's still like the Libra energy. But sometimes, if we're on the cusp, what may have happened for you is you have other personal planets like Venus or Mercury that may be in the, I don't know, but could be in the sign of Scorpio, right? So there could be
Yes.
other planets basically that are positioned in that energy, which would still bring that through in your personality and still be relevant. So that can certainly happen whether or not we're on the cusp. But if we're on the cusp, it may be more likely that some of those personal planets like Venus or Mercury are actually in other signs besides our sun sign.
Oh, that's super interesting. I find that fascinating because on your website you have Born for the Stars Inner Circle. So is that with astrology? What is that?
Yeah, so yeah, I love that space. So I've had my inner circle for a while, but we recently did a whole like upgrade and rebrand with the launch of my podcast, Born for the Stars and the Born for the Stars Now Inner Circle. So there is a lot of astrology in that space. videos in there where people can learn about their own astrology. And then we also do new and full moon ceremonies together. Everyone in that space is getting access to the Lionsgate audios, but it's also a lot to do with the Akashic Records as well. So really learning to like open and access your records. And we work in that space for many different things. So that can be activating your intuitive abilities. That can be connecting even to like past life, healing past life. I do a lot of work around wealth and abundance. So the records is a big part of that space as well.
Okay. So, because you said Akashic Records. So, for people that don't know what that is, what
Yeah.
is that?
Yeah, so the records, I love my journey to discovering the records because it is actually what transformed my business as well. So I
Wow.
didn't start out in working with the records. Again, I was kind of more the mainstream route of going through psychology, branching off. Pretty early on, I had my own private practice, but then I actually left that just to go into the online space at that time. I
Yeah.
just saw so much potential there. I really wanted to work more with energy and astrology. So it was just feeling like psychology alone, just it wasn't going to be aligned for me. There was something more I was meant to teach. So I was in that space and my business was growing at that time. Things were good, but it not where I knew it could be. And I know
Yeah.
there was growth and expansion, but at that time I'm like, something still feels off here. I'm not quite in my mission or my
Yeah.
purpose. Like something just really it isn't fully clicking. And it was at this time that I found someone online who was talking about the records. And I was completely new to them at that time, but I loved her. I loved her energy. I thought, I'm going to book a session and just experience this. And it wasn't even just for my business. There was actually, that was quite a few years ago now, or a decade ago. I had just done a move and there was some other personal things I wanted insight on. But in
Yeah.
that session, so much came through around my business and my soul path, and things started shifting really quickly. So, it was more
Wow.
than just that one session, but right away I got a download for a group that I was meant to share with the world that like grew to 4,000 members. And like more than just those tangible numbers, which were
Yeah.
key, like my income more than doubled that year after working more in the records. It was just this feeling of, wow, like the clarity that's setting and the ideas that are coming through. So I went on to get certified in the records. Now I certify other people in the records. So just like astrology, it's become kind of a core piece of my work. But basically, what the Akashic Records are more than anything else is this energetic space that we can access that gives us insight into our soul journey. So that's where
Mm.
we can tap into past lifetimes, we can tap into our soul gifts. And the future isn't written in stone. So the future has potentiality. And
Yeah.
that's where I like to talk about highest timeline as well, like the highest timeline for our earthly journey, because our soul does have a plan for like the highest timeline it wants to walk out, but it's nothing in
Yes.
stone. And we can rewrite our records. We do a free will. There's a lot of
True.
freedom there. So it really gives us insight on our unique soul journey. And it also connects us to our unique energetic blueprint, like our soul frequency. So this is where it can be so helpful with our business because it really begins to give clarity on the message that we're here to share, what we're here to talk about. And again, that can evolve over time, but the records evolve with us. It can continue to guide us on our path. So it's beautiful. It's also a space where we can connect with our spirit team. So anytime I open the records, I acknowledge, the angels that are there, our loved ones, our ancestors. So it's a lot we can do in that space. And I think
Yeah.
different Akashic practitioners could work with that space very differently. So I love to work with it alongside astrology and especially really helping people like tap into wealth, tap into leadership, or even growing their spiritual business because our business has a records as well. Our business has a unique energy and a unique consciousness.
Oh.
So we can also connect into that and really see what's the highest expression of what I'm here to bring to the world.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. I just learned something new. Can people book an Akashic record session with you?
Yeah, so what I have now are like I combine them. So I have Astro Akashic readings. So because I really just love to work with both together. So opening up the Akashic Records with someone to share channeled messages or do activations in that space. I love to just channel activations to clear their energy field, activate soul gifts, and then also from the space of the records to look at their astrology. So to pull
Yeah.
up their birth chart, because within a birth chart, for anyone wanting to grow a business, it's like a blueprint. So we really see like our money codes, what makes us magnetic, what our message is, our unique style of creating or manifesting our soul's highest path, the skills we're here to embrace in our career path. So I do have that available, and I bring both modalities together very powerfully because I just find there's such a beautiful fit in understanding the energies and like our blueprint because the records
Yeah.
can feel very abstract. Like it's very much an energy and frequency shift. And they do bring a lot of clarity. And astrology, though, can feel more tangible. Like this is the place Venus is in for you. This is where Mercury is,
Yeah.
what it means. And it really helps kind of ground our blueprint in a more tangible way.
Oh, that's so fascinating. I am curious, as a child, were you super intuitive or did that come later in life?
So it's been an interesting journey with that. I always felt very connected to God early on, very connected to angels.
Yeah.
In my journey, it actually took more of the form of religion. I was the kid
Yeah.
who brought their parents back to church, interestingly. I love the nun in our church, so I grew up kind of more, Catholic, but I also
Yeah.
explored other churches. I actually had a best friend who her dad was a minister, and I loved to go to his church. But I always felt like that, spiritual calling, that connection to spirit. So
Yeah.
I do feel that's something that I came in with. And now
Yeah.
over time it evolved. It actually caused some conflict early on because in the eyes of the church, I also, as the kid on the schoolyard reading horoscopes, I was also in the church and very involved in the church and the choir and, teaching catechism, which is the Catholic version of Sunday school. And I always had kind of this dissonance of, am I doing something wrong, right? How do I
Mhm.
bring both of these worlds together? So I think there's more talk in the online space about this nowadays, right? People label new
Yes.
age or but for me, it's not a new conversation. Like that started at a very young age. And I just thought, I always feel this connection to God. And I can find that whether I'm in a church or in other areas,
Yeah.
whether I'm studying the stars, there's still that connection to God. So it was always there. And as far as the intuition, I think also, I believe many of us are probably everyone who finds their way to your podcast, Maria, I'm sure is actually very intuitive.
Yeah.
It's skill as well, of course, that we develop. So I was very intuitive. I would say I didn't necessarily have the skills until later on as to how do I work with my intuition, but always feeling
Yeah.
things very strongly, very deeply. I was definitely like a highly sensitive kid, just picking up on energies and
Wow.
empath. So it was actually not until maybe early 20s where I even heard of the term empath. And
Yeah.
it felt like I was so seen when I connected with this counselor, who's thankfully very into energy work, also did counseling work. She was a theta healer. And when I was first just sharing my journey with her in a first session, and she just looked at me, she's like, you're an empath, right? I'm like, oh no, I'm highly sensitive. She's like, well, an empath is different than just highly sensitive. And she started explaining that to me, and it felt really seen to just say, oh, okay. And it helped make sense of my earlier experiences of perhaps just feeling other people's energy, maybe sometimes acting out other people's energy. And it can be confusing, right? When we're an empath and we don't have the
Oh,
tools to deal with it.
I agree. Oh, I absolutely agree. I remember in the beginning of my journey, I'd be in a crowd and I would start crying and I didn't know why I was crying until years later and people be like, "What's wrong with you?" Because you pick up other people's stuff until you learn to control your own energy, to clear your energy. Yeah, but in the beginning, it does feel a little overwhelming, I think.
Well, it is, and it can feel really disempowering at first, I think, until we really learn, like, okay, what does it mean to be an empowered empath? And I even like to say, like, frequency keeper, instead of being the sponge to the energy, we're so anchored into our energy, we
Yeah.
determine the frequency everywhere we go. Like, we hold
Oh,
that resonance so strongly. And I feel like that's kind of the new paradigm of being an empath, no longer kind of the victim or the sponge or overwhelmed, but we really see how it is a superpower. And then we
yeah.
work it in a way that supports us and supports the planet.
I love that. I am curious, in your family, are there any other intuitives? Are there other people like you in your family?
I mean, my sister is very into intuitive work as well. So she
Yeah.
actually, went through the counseling route as well, social work, and now kind of diving more into spirituality. So both of us had that connection. Not a lot of other people in my family that I know actively are, speaking about their gifts. I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like both my parents are actually probably very intuitive and sensitive to energy, but never kind of looked into how to
Yeah.
work that or dove into practicing that work directly. But I feel the gift was there, which makes
Yeah.
sense. I think it does kind of like run in families as well, but not everybody
Yeah.
hones in on it. And I mean, years ago, it would like we couldn't even talk about this stuff openly. So I
True.
think maybe those gifts were there, but there was shame around it, or
Yeah.
even sometimes through the lens of Christianity, where it's seen as wrong, not with all Christians, but some, right? We bring in this
Yeah.
idea of like the devil's work or demons. So I think maybe some of that was happening.
Oh, I agree because I grew up in a strict Catholic family. So I understand that. And
Mhm.
then you're stepping into spirituality, but then you're like, am I doing something wrong? Am I going to burn in hell? Like you have all of those things going on in your mind. And it's like, for those that are listening, you are fine. You're allowed to explore whatever makes you happy. I think
Mhm.
that's super important. I'm curious, are you a medium?
I would not call
Mhm.
myself a medium. I don't know that there is that gift that I could tap into. I feel like maybe many people listening feel that as well, like those gifts are there.
Yeah.
Maybe we haven't fully tapped into it. So as you asked that, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could choose to go
Yeah.
down that path, but it's something that I haven't actively done. I've always felt that with dreams too. Like there's so much more I could explore in that realm. But I'm always
Yeah.
like, when I go to sleep, I am sleeping. I need my rest. No,
I
no need
agree.
for astral traveling. But yeah, I love that you asked that though. Maybe in the future I'll tap into it more.
I don't know. I just thought I'm gonna ask because I don't know. Because I find it so fascinating. I find your life so fascinating and how you're so passionate about astrology and Akashic records. And with astrology, because I find it super confusing. So, how long did it take you to figure it out?
It's a lot to it. I hear that
Yeah.
from I have, clients that I see like, regularly that come in and they're like, I love astrology, but this is not for me. I love that you can just tell me what's going on. Like they love to hear it from
Yes.
me, but they don't want to learn it. And then other clients do. They're like, tell me everything. When are you going to do your certification course? So it is quite complex. And I think for some,
Yeah.
like they don't, it's well, like any different modality. There's some things that really land with us and
Yeah.
others don't. So astrology is one I was always drawn to. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I had that natural connection, like my soul kind of had this remembrance of astrology, but that doesn't mean I still didn't learn the basics. I remember,
Yeah.
first exploring astrology and having these spreadsheets of like needing to like write out everything, right? Like it was okay.
Yeah.
Mercury's here, this is what it means, and like laying it all out, or like house one, this is the meaning, because there are so many moving parts to it.
Yeah.
But once you get those foundational pieces down, and then of course like the birth chart is one thing, but then it's the transits, so that's the current cosmic weather, how it interacts with our birth chart, which is really powerful for prediction or just seeing current
Yeah.
themes or cycles we're in. And then there's that progress chart, and of course we can create like lunar return, solar return chart. So there is a lot that we like, there's endless learning in many ways.
Yeah.
But I do find like, and those foundational pieces can take some time and patience. So I do
Yeah.
want to say that for anyone learning astrology, like yeah, they're even feeling like there was a natural connection. There was still time and effort put into
Yeah.
really like needing to understand those core pieces. And then it really becomes very intuitive over time. So once
Yeah.
you get, you understand the angles in a chart, the degrees, the house placements, that's where you can really start to feel into the energy and expression of it and how that may
Yeah.
manifest for people. Because within any chart, there's a higher octave manifestation or a lower octave, and we tend to dance between each. So basically, we can fall into the shadow parts of our chart or the higher essence, and we're all kind of moving toward what's the highest expression. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the art to understand, like, how are these energies playing out, and then where is this person on that path? You can even just explore that with people.
Wow.
Like, these are the lower octave, this is the higher octave, these are the portals that are opening, but none of it's like written in stone. So it's almost like these are the opportunities. There's different times where like it may be more aligned to launch a business, it may be more aligned to start a family, but it's rare that anything's like it has to happen at this time. There's some things that are feel very destined. Others are like, here's a portal of opportunity, but we still
Yeah.
get to decide how we play with that energy. So
I
cool.
find that is fascinating. I wanted to ask you about because you said it feels like you're a mermaid. So I love that expression. And then I'm thinking astrology and Akashic Records, and there's just something about the ocean and the water. Like, do you find that helps you with meditating, with connecting, or is that just an extra bonus?
I mean, I love the water. I say mermaid at heart because I'm like
Yeah.
the girl who has 2-hour baths every night. I love sitting by the ocean. I'm obsessed with pools, like any body of water.
Yeah.
I love. So I'm just like drawn to it. I find it's a very rejuvenating from for me. And in my astrology, I mean, I am a Cancer sun, so I'm a water sign. I also have Mercury and Venus there. So water is a very big part of my chart. I'm all kind of fire and water, actually. Both kind
Yeah.
of both of those elements at play. But yeah, I've always felt that since I was a kid, just being at home in water. I even have like a memory of going to a friend's house once and her telling my mom after, she's like, "Oh, Kara's so quiet until we get in the pool." And then it's like
I was curious about that because I thought, oh, her astrology sign must have water in it. Because love the water. And as a kid, I grew up by the ocean.
Mm,
Like,
yeah.
because I grew up in Portugal as a child, and then we came to Canada, but every summer was spent in Portugal by the ocean.
Oh, beautiful. I've been hearing so much about Portugal lately, so I feel like that's a sign for me that I've got to visit. I love that you grew up there by the ocean. I bet that
Oh,
was amazing.
it was like I came over to Canada, I think it was like 4 years old, but every summer for 2, 3 months, my parents would go back every single year.
Wow.
So we always stayed connected to everybody, to the family and everybody growing up. So it's almost like I never left, but I did. You know what I mean? But
I
there's
get
something about the ocean. Yeah, if you're going to Portugal, go for it. It is beautiful, beautiful there, and the people are beautiful, and the food is rich and it's authentic. And yes, so you will
I've only
absolutely.
heard good things. I've only heard good things about it. But it's funny, like lately, it's really been in my space just knowing like a few people that are visiting Portugal or even a client. She's like, I'm in Portugal now. And now it's funny that you're saying
There's your sign.
that's my sign. Yeah.
So I am wondering for people that want to get into this, and there's so much, but it sounds like you're playing in the sandbox and it's so much fun. Any words of wisdom for people that want to explore this, but they're overwhelmed? Like, where should they start? Like, step one.
Yeah, and I mean, I do have free resources available too. So even on my YouTube, I do new and full moon or not ceremonies, but I go over the new and full moon every month, and I bring up the chart and I explain the energies. So I know a lot of people have shared that they've learned a lot just from
Yeah.
that. So I just like, immersing yourself in it. I have a free gift called the Prosperous Soul, which is really good for anyone wanting to tap into abundance and prosperity. But in that, I also bring you into the records. So I know it's one of these things where you want to experience it. Like I'm saying, this is the
Yeah.
journey of your soul. This is your blueprint. And it can feel very intangible because it is a frequency and an energy that we are accessing. So I do have resources out there where I guide people into the Akashic Records so they can experience that space for themselves. But say, yeah, just begin with like what lights you up, and especially with the astrology, don't let it overwhelm you. And if you're drawn to it, it means there's something there for you. I really feel that. For some of us, we're drawn to Reiki or numerology or human design. And I don't feel it's by accident. Whatever is
Yeah.
speaking to us, there's something there we're meant to learn. And sometimes, we're not always meant to teach it or share it. Like I love all those modalities I just said, but I never felt the call to like, oh, I've got to learn this and then teach this. But with the
Yeah.
astrology and the records, I did. But it doesn't mean that I don't love having my numerology read or learning more about human design, just not to the extent of like, I know this in depth to the point where I want to teach it or really incorporate it into my program. So they just do what lights you up, what feels alive. That's your sign, right? When something like, okay, I've got to learn about this, I'm intrigued, there's something there for you.
Oh, I like that because I will say I am fascinated with astrology. And then I get overwhelmed. I'm like, you know what? I feel like one day I'm going to take that plunge and go learn it because just spending this time with you, you break it down so easily. And
Mm.
it's like, it sounds like it's accessible to everybody. And I love the words that you use because you use such empowering words when you talk about astrology.
I know there can be a lot of fear there. Like, what?
Yes.
um,
Because of all the houses. There's a lot of houses. I was like, how do you keep track of all these houses? I can't even keep track of my own house. And now you go to astrology. So I find that a little overwhelming, but that's just me. But at the same time, it's kind of like what you said. If it keeps coming up for you, then
the
there's something
sign.
there.
Always, always. So there's something there. Yeah. Don't let it overwhelm you. And I love to describe it in simple terms because I think people overcomplicate it, but I think it just
Yeah.
goes back to like how I had to learn it. I did really have to kind of break it down at first, and then it becomes more of like a dance. But I feel like that may be the case with many techniques, or when we're first learning, it's like, okay, we really have to break it down into pieces, and then we see more how it's all interconnected. But even as you mentioned, the houses, so in astrology, there's 12 different houses and they all represent different areas of our life, and they actually correspond with the 12 signs of the zodiac. So
Hmm.
even though the houses in zodiac, it's not the same thing, the energies are related. So that's like a little shortcut as well. So for instance, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's
Yeah.
associated with house one. And they both take on those characteristics of leadership and new timelines, new energy. So it's kind of a shortcut, or like Taurus house
Yeah.
two, we see like the values. So I found that was really helpful as well. But I remember even being overwhelmed with that at first. So once you get over that initial, you learn some of the initial stuff, it does become really fun. And I think what also helps is it's fun to know our birth chart. So when we start to see these
Yeah.
different aspects in our chart, it's like we're learning about ourselves, we're learning about our blueprint. And then it can be really fun to do that for people in our life. So people have to do that for their friends or their partner or their children. And I always say, like, start with your chart, but then slowly begin to branch out. And there is
Yeah.
something that just comes with experience, in the sense of the more charts you look at, the more you're going to get a feel for the energies and how to read them.
Oh, wow. See, I told you, just listening to you, you simplify it. And I'm like, I can do this. I can do this. This sounds really simple and easy. And it's so true. In the beginning, with anything, it can sound overwhelming. And then it's always like just step one, then step two, and then it falls into place. And I love that. So you were talking about astrology, and I've heard from other astrology readers, there are many types of astrology readings. Is there one that is your favorite?
Well, I often start with just like the birth chart is going to be our foundational one. So the birth chart is the energy that we come in with. It's the snapshot of the sky when we were born. So we choose our astrology. Like it's no accident. And it's funny to hear even parents say, like, wow, I feel like my kid is waiting to come in on this day, or they're waiting to like come in with this energy. Like we choose that path because from a broader perspective, time is experienced differently, right? That's not as linear
Yeah.
as we think. So we also know like this is the energy I need to fulfill my life path and purpose. And we even know the transits that we're going to experience. So even some things that may be labeled as difficult transits from a soul level, it was simply, I want this experience. I know it's going to be part of my evolution and part of my growth. So the birth chart is always going to be the foundational piece. So I always start with that. And then I will combine the transits as well. So
Yeah.
in my personal readings, I'll look at the birth chart, but I'll also look at the transits, so the current cosmic weather. So I can see the energy in that person's chart, and then I can also see what's being activated for them right now based on the
Yeah.
transits. Like what's like I can easily see, that your relationships are in the spotlight right now, but I can also go into these are the soul gifts you have. This is the message you're here to share. So all those
Mm.
pieces are in the birth chart. And then for my clients, if we're working together longer term, of course, I'll do their solar return. So on their birthday, it's like a new chart that we
Yeah.
explore every year on our birthday when the sun returns to the sign and degree it was in when we're born. It's like a chart for the year ahead. So again,
Yeah.
it's still based on our birth chart though. So like all these other charts they're revolving around our birth chart. Even our progress chart is the evolution of our energies over time. So it always comes back to the core. And when we're learning astrology, that's why we always start with that. People talk about your birth chart, and then it becomes much easier to like branch out from there and explore the different types of charts or readings.
Oh, I find that super fascinating because because you talked about the solar, is it the solar reading that goes around like on your birthday? Do
Yeah,
people have to for that? Like if people want to book that type of reading, do they have to do it on their birthday or can they do it now, but their birthday's not for a couple of months? I'm just curious energetically how that works.
yeah. So what's needed to create the solar return chart is definitely like, the birth information. So date, place, time of birth. So we have the birth chart. And then the only thing for the solar return after that is the city you're going to be in to celebrate. So they do need to know
Oh,
that in advance because that will determine the chart. I've never done this personally, but some astrologers will even change where they celebrate their birthday to get a certain chart and energy to bring into their new year. So if they might explore if they're thinking of celebrating in different areas, they'll look at the charts for each and then kind of think about what they're creating in the year ahead and plan it around that. I always just trust.
I
But
love that. I didn't even know that
yeah,
because I've heard people get astrology readings for vacations to decide where to go on vacation.
yeah, so that sounds more like the astrocartography, where you can see, like, again, it's still based around your birth chart, but what places are going to feel more at home for you. So there's certain places in the world that are better for relaxing, whereas some may be better for our career, or some may be
Yeah.
better for friendship. So there's so much we can plan around it if we want. And then the other thing you could do with vacation too is just seeing what is the current transits at the time of this trip. So you kind of
Yeah.
get the undertone of like, okay, like what's the moon placement, or just looking at the overall energies at the time of the vacation.
I find this all super interesting. And then at the beginning we had mentioned like in your bio for spiritual wealth, creating that and the abundance. So can you tell us more about that you offer?
Yeah, I mean, I just love seeing like the light workers of the world, healers of the world, creating wealth because I feel there's this old paradigm of like the poor healer or the poor creative. And I just always
Yeah.
felt like, I don't know. I don't think that needs to be something that we continue to pass along. Like the work that we're doing is so valuable and needed on this planet. Like, why not learn to receive abundantly for what we do if we choose that to be part of our path? I mean, on the earth
Yeah.
plane right now, money is a currency. So as we
True.
have that, we can circulate it in ways that feel good and aligned and uplifting for us. So that wealth and abundance piece is so key and really like generating that in a way that feels good. So there's also the paradigm of like, to have money, we have to burn out or we have to work really hard. So I feel like spiritual entrepreneurs can say, no, like I leverage my frequency and energy. And yes, we're taking action, but it's coming from
Yeah.
a different space. We're not saying I have to do things I hate to earn money. Like, is that true? Not an ultimate truth. What if
Yeah.
we do what we love and earn money? And, the spiritual wealth and like, that component is just feeling fulfilled in our life and connected to our spiritual gifts, connected to infinite intelligence, and not feeling like we're relying on our human strength alone, which can make this
Yeah.
journey, I think, pretty hard. Like it's our free will and we can cut off from those
Yeah.
connections, but it certainly becomes a lot more enjoyable when we are open to that co-creation and being in communication with the universe. And I feel like that's when we address like that spiritually wealthy. We feel supported and guided on our path.
So do you offer a program for that?
So it's all kind of worked in, like you had mentioned the
Yeah.
board for the stars. So we do astrology and records, but part
Oh,
of that, of
okay.
course, like so much of that is tailored around abundance. And a lot of people in that space, when we do our rituals, they're like wanting work around money, right? So we
Yeah.
do a lot of energetic work or even tangible steps and courses I have in there around creating an abundant relationship with money or like quantum manifestation systems. So it becomes this combination of, yes, the spiritual and the energetic, but grounded in really tangible ways that people can apply. So even in my iconic lightworker mastermind, of course, that's worked in as well as we grow our business. We're creating
Yeah.
financial wealth, but also spiritual. So I find it's just very intertwined with any of the offers that I have.
Oh, I think that's amazing. So can people reach out to you if they're not sure what to go into to study,
Yes,
just to
absolutely.
get clarity?
I love connecting with new people. Absolutely. So I'm on Instagram and Facebook are probably my main platforms, and then YouTube. But as far as reaching out, I mean, Facebook or Instagram would probably be the best. And yeah, I love to have those connections with people for sure. And I always want anybody that's kind of deciding on the path to feel like what they're choosing is aligned for them. So I'm happy to give that guidance.
I love this because you have a lot of incredible, amazing things, and I love your energy. And I was telling you before we started recording, there is such a softness about you, like this feminine softness, but also this empowerment. And I love that energy about you because it just makes me feel so at ease. And it also makes me feel like, yeah, I can do it too. I'm in her energy. Yeah, we can do this. So I love that. And I want to say thank you for spending this time with us. So before we go, is there any last words, any new things that you want people to be aware of that's coming up for you?
Thank you for having me, Maria. This was so fun. And thank you for your beautiful words. That means a lot. And yeah, we were chatting about the pink. And
Yes,
of
lots
course,
of
how
pink.
intuitive you are. You're like, I'm going to wear pink today. I'm like, well, that makes sense because that's always been my favorite color. So you were tuning into something. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed getting to know you better and just having this connection with you. I really hope it serves everybody who tunes in.
Okay, so thank you, Kara. And below the videos, or if you guys are listening to this on audio in the show notes, all of Kara's contact information will be there. Please reach out to her if you are interested. If you have questions, feel free to email her. Don't forget to give her a follow on her social media platforms and her YouTube channel because there's a lot of great content there too. And thank you so much for being with us today. All right.
Uh,
Happy manifesting, everybody.